Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second Technical Tuesday. I'm really happy to be here. I have here with me Mark Taccolini, who's our CTO and founder. And today I got Eduardo, who's part of our engineering team. Um, Today we're going to have a good conversation, a more general about the unified designer, kind of like an overview. I'm going to talk a little bit about documentation as well. So, Mark, why don't you introduce us to tell the people a little more about it? I will note, guys, if you have questions, things like that, feel free to drop them on chat. I'll be keeping an eye out.
Okay, well, thank you. One thing that I heard many times is the first step to learn a new product. Sometimes you go to the hammer instead of use the proper tool because it's what you know. We had lots of discussion. But what I intend to do, if you follow me next half an hour, is to show slowly, carefully, our environment to develop applications. And you must really trust not only myself, but many integrators that after a few months, they rely to us and say, okay, that learning step did pay many times because the integrated environment that we have, all extras inside, is a huge time saving. You just need to be willing to do that step to learn because you have a much powerful cockpit, but you need to learn how to use that cockpit. After you learn, you are going to fly. And when you pick up eventually tools with more limitations, say, how could I be living with that? So let's go on that. And I have with me Eduardo. And give me your 2 cents about our configuration tools, Eduardo, before we start.
Okay, so here we are in the Solution Center. You can have all the solutions there. And I think Mark is going to show us a little bit about the designer of the new features we have.
Mm-hmm. And how your experience, Eduardo, the first time you learned to do the application, just unified environments?
So I think it's pretty fast. You can develop applications in minutes, and you have all the tools in the same space, so you can do any setting that you need in the same environment. It's pretty good.
Perfect. So this one that we are is what you call the solution center, okay? And if you go to our documentation on the platform overview, those two chapters, platform overview in modules, are all about the concepts of the product. So if you understand, have explanations, those are the two sections we should go. And the first one here is the solution life cycle that explain the three workspaces that we have when developing applications, which are the solution center, where you can create new solutions, access remote computers to see what they have there. Then we have the designer tool that is one unified environment to develop everything on the application. And then, of course, the execution environments. And those are the three main environments. And one thing very important to understand, we allow full offline configuration or online configuration. It means when designing the application, you can have a complete isolated environment from the runtime, or you can work combined. So what you modify is immediately available on runtime. But today we will not go much on the runtime. Today I'll focus on those two environments, mainly the designer. So the solution center, we'll go back to that in another video. For now, it's enough to understand that here on the server information, you can connect to remote computers to see and access the solutions. By remote computer can be, by the way, a Docker running in a Linux field device. And when you are connected to that remote device on your local computer, you have the many applications that you can work. So you can add those applications, you can put those applications to run, you can run diagnostics in those applications, and you can create new solutions. If you don't fully understand what are the many family models we have, just keep the default to create the solution as enterprise. And you can create a solution to be multi-platform or Windows. For now, I'll keep in Windows. And as we have time, we'll give some explanation on .NET. By the way, I think that's important enough. What think, Eduardo, that we do one section on Technical Tuesday specifically about Linux, .NET 8, .NET Framework, and we do a deep dive on those .NET platforms?
That would be good. We have the Docker documentation. We can show how to deploy in the Docker field. Also using Cisco, you can see, we can show all of that.
And you explain very clearly the difference between what's the difference in running .NET 4.8 in Windows or running .NET 8.0 in Windows also. When you are in Windows, you have two options of environments, and it will be useful to understand what are the difference. When you are in Solution Designer settings, you can modify the product target, you can modify the .NET, but let's plan that in our agenda, Isabella. Let's do 1 week that will be all about the runtime and explaining in detail all those flavors of .NET. So to just give some little taste, we'll talk about .NET 2.0, what is that 2.0 standard, the .NET 8, how Microsoft is doing the many releases, why 4.8 is still important, how deploying Docker, and all of that, okay?
Perfect.
Good. So when you open the configuration, that's the main environment you have, okay? And it's very useful to go to settings, use interface, and do some customization here. You are more to the light or to the dark backgrounds, Eduardo?
Usually light.
Yeah, me too. Well, depends. When I'm working in the evening, it really makes the difference to have those. So we have those 6 dark and 6 night themes that you can do on the engineering. And by the way, you can do that also in the runtime, and you can automatically change them between the time. And we have some other custom settings here that I will talk, showing here how to change. One of them, many people, I love this option of these expanders. So when I am in alarm groups and I do the navigation to security, when it keeps only the section I am open. And when I go back to alarms, you see it recover the context. So the accordion interface is pretty much like a tree, but open and expands automatically the session, keeping the context. We also have the option to have the standard tree. Many engineers, they are used to a tree, but give me a shot on that. If you never use this one, make the effort to stay at least 1 or 2 hours working that in this way, and eventually will, like myself, like, oh, it's like a tree, just a little more efficient. That's one thing that we have. Another basic information that we have here, you can zoom in and zoom out the environments. if you don't want to change the Windows zoom. That's very helpful in some presentations and some computers. And if you are very new to the interface, you can also keep this option enabled, show quick help. The quick help to every display, every configuration page that you have this explanation open here with the basic 2 cents on what you are doing in that information, and also a direct link of that UI to the documentation. After some time, of course, you are going to save some real estate, keeping that closed, okay? But it's important to know that you can have that quick help information here anytime. Any other custom setting, Eduardo, that I believe would be useful to share with them before we dive in the configuration tools?
No, I think we are great.
Okay, good. And so I have the teams, the quick help, and one concept that's very important to understand before we start the configuration is the concept that we call in the new CST the 4 pillars configuration. And I will open here this web page to give the basic overview what it is. What's the magic? We can do applications in all areas. We do applications in more than 12 verticals with the same products. Is that we're able to create a very easy modeling on how is typically your applications. And we organize any application in 4 main pillars: the data foundation, the industrial operations, the business operations, and the user interaction. And we have to each one of those basic pillars the modules in the software to do the implementation. So to do the implementation of your data foundation, we have the tag, the assets, the unified namespace. When you are working in industrial operations, you have some typical modules connect with that. When you starting to do more business operations, you need to start doing reports, you have more advanced scripts, databases, and finally, for the user interactions, you need to apply security, create displays, understand the concept of clients, like web clients, rich clients. And to be clear, it's not that you cannot have a script in the industrial operation. You may have, or you can have a script helping to do some trick on the UI. But this high-level organization, where primarily those modules are used, they are very useful to understand and organize you in thinking about your application. And because you are doing training and have lots of interaction with users, Eduardo, feel free to interrupt me anytime to put your additional comments on those concepts, okay?
Okay, perfect.
So this is really all you need to understand to be able to be more proficient, and to understand that all those modules, we created a simple unified interface to do that configuration. Even if that interface is still a little overwhelming, you can filter. So show me only what I need to define my data foundation, my unified namespace, or show me all I need to the low-level factory floor typical applications, alarm, historian, or enable the typical modules on the user interaction, okay? That's something you can do also when starting to learn the configuration tool. And because we follow a very modular architecture, you can start your configuration by any piece, okay? You don't need to start by the data or the foundation, but typically a good process is to do the configuration from the unified namespace to the process modules, then applications, and the UI. But again, in many cases, you feel the need to prototype the UI to better understand the system. So this order is not really necessary to follow. It's just a recommendation that applies well to many systems. And on the end of the day, it doesn't matter much because I'm going in the technology foundation to show this real-time tag database to remind that on the end of the day, each module is completely independent because what the displays, the script alarms are doing are publishing and subscribing data from the real-time tag database, from the unified namespace, okay? And this section today, I will not try to give the detailed explanation with all modules. That would be impossible. I'll be try to focus in this designer environment itself, how to explain how this environment here work. So you have here on the left side all the modules, and you have some additional things here. You have this one that are the solution, the runtime, the data explorer, and the track changes. So let's make sure everyone understands, Eduardo. So help me showing them the 4 pillars again. Data foundation, where we do.
Okay, so in the data foundation, we basically are creating the tags for using the solution.
Exactly.
So one way we can do that is by going unified namespace, tags, and create a tag manually.
Exactly. Or you can copy paste from here, okay? Or you can get an Excel, or as you did in your demo, Eduardo, you asked ChatGPT to create the tags.
That's correct. And
paste
also,
here.
You can import directly from a PLC in some protocols.
That's what you do in solutions. So all the solutions, you have some tools that apply to entire solution, like where is your Python interpreter, and some which operating system and version are you targeting. You have categories that are metadata and labels, and you can have these import tags. The import tags, we have a few typical targets on control logics, backoff, OPCUA, that you can import those tags to create then on the unified namespace. And you also can import full plugins. That's something we'll cover also in another session. Plugins are like complete small applications. So you can have a full working subset of functionalities, and you can bring not only the tags, but you can bring the entire plugin here when you build the unified namespace. And when you are creating those tags can be located in what you call the root tags, or they can be inside a tree. So you can build or you can import your tree, and your tree can follow the SP95 or any other standard. But essentially, you can organize a tree, and you can pick up those root tags and move them to be inside a tree. So you can create an hierarchical view of your tags, okay? Or you can also move them from here, okay? I'm trying to hold myself, Eduardo, to start going a full explanation on the unified namespace. So help me here. What would be the additional one or two concepts that we need to give at least a highlight before moving on, Eduardo?
I think the user types is very important. Most of
Okay.
the personal. So here it works like Udity, where you can have tags inside. You can have members inside a tag. So it will be like a folder. You can have the process variable tag, and inside that you can have temperature, pressure, speed.
Good. So let me do an example with a PAG. So in a PAG, you typically have a set point, a process value, a control value, and you also have the proportional constants, the KP, the integral constants, the KI, and you have also the derivative constants, KP. So here are some of the data modeling, data structure create for a PAG. Now you can go to our tag bases and create one tag that's LV101 that will be of type PIG. So this tag has the entire data structure for IPIG. Okay. And one thing I want to highlight on the unified namespace before moving forward is that we have those two concepts that sometimes other products they don't have. One is that if I create a tag here, so I'm going to create a new PIG tag, loop one of type PIG, and I will place this PIG tag inside that folder. When you are doing, it seems I created in the wrong place. It's fine. Let's move it. So when you are creating those variables, you'll see the loop one looks like also a folder, like a nodes, because I have children here. But our product support two types of interactions. We support the user data types that are standard templates. So a tag of type loop will always have those children. But we support also any structure through the folders. So if you don't want to create templates, you just want to create asset folders, and then you populate inside those folders custom tags, we allow that also. So that's a theme we're going to explore more on the unified namespace training. But you can create user data types. They are repeatable structures, or you can create free formatting structures directly on the tree. That's it. Anything else? Perhaps dynamic tag providers?
I was going to say, do you want to mention that?
I think so. It's also important to mention that if you have an external data source, for instance, I go to this Data Explorer tool, and I'm going to put to run a MQTT broker and also a MQTT simulator. So we have some data in that broker, okay? One thing that our unified namespace can do also is to create dynamic connections to external data. So instead of defining all the tags in our own system, you can create here folders that will automatically be expanding as you add, as you connect with that data source. So I can go to that Spark plug connection that I created and create that dynamic connection on that initial path. But that's for another topic. What's important to keep in mind that we have very advanced tools for data modeling, and most of them are unique to our platform. If you go to most SCADA products that are not really IT also, we are I can say a truly OT operations and IT product. And the reason I can say that, you can create tags like data tables,
Nice.
yields, images, data time. We go way beyond the traditional SCADA modeling to create true SQL style variables or IT style variables on a file namespace. That's it. Anything else on the file namespace, Eduardo, or where should I go now? Tell me.
I
Actually,
think, yeah.
before we move on, we have a question here on chat, and I think it's a good time as any, which is which OS would you recommend for a project interfacing with CodeSys?
I would say Code Sys, if possible, you should keep in Windows.
Yeah.
Because the Code Sys has a library called PLC Handler, and the many of the Code Sys runtimes out there, and even the default installation for PLC Handler is target Windows. They do have a version for Linux, but depends on which flavor of Linux. It's not universal. So if possible, definitely Code Sys, it's worth to keep a Windows target.
And
Perfect.
just a,
Mateus answered on chat as well, but I think it was
Yeah.
good to
just a
have that one.
comment here. Last week, I've been working with CodeSys. So you can connect either with the PLC handler, which uses the CodeSys API, or you can use the OPC UA when you connect to the symbol configuration from CodeSys. So you have the symbol configuration and also the symbol set from CodeSys. We can connect to both of them.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Good points. And the Code Sys regime is our native connection with the device with the PLC handler, or you can also use the OPCOA standard. Perfect. And what's next now, Eduardo?
Maybe devices. We already covered the tag creation.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to what you call the process modules, which are devices, alarms, and storing. And again, the concept of unified designer is not explain all modules. So from now on, I'll try to keep my pace a little faster. Otherwise, I am almost starting to do a full training. That was not the idea. So what's important under devices, we have lots of communication protocols. And those communication protocols, you see, by the way, some of them are multi-platform, some of them they require Windows to run. And those communication protocols allows you to connect with virtually any device. And I say any device because every time someone brings us a device, you don't have the driver, we just create the driver. That's the reason we have 100 plus interfaces now. So the cost of devices is you are going to select a communication protocol, and you can have many nodes of that protocol, and essentially you define a mapping between data inside those devices to tags your application. That's a traditional mapping where you can read and write the blocks in those protocols. And those protocols, they are proprietary protocols. And of course, standards like OPC-UA, MQTT, they are also available here. But the devices establish that bidirectional communication in between the unified namespace and field devices. On top of that, we also have a full, complete alarm engine. This alarm engine allows you to create hierarchical groups, allow you to create areas, to put out notifications, to be in compliance with FJ requirements. Very powerful. And on the historian tool, it's also amazing. If you saw the demo Eduardo created 2 weeks ago, he just copy paste all the tags to the historian, and in 10 seconds, how many minutes you did the full configuration, Eduardo, include the alarm historian?
The full demo was like 4 minutes, but to create the historian, you just copy and paste from the tag, so it's basically seconds.
Yeah, so Isabella will put out some links to some demos Eduardo did 2 weeks ago to show how quick it is. And part of the reason it's so quick because by default, we have lots of field features that are predefined. So by default, we are saving that data every 1 second or when the tag has a new value. By default, we are saving to a SQL database. But what's important that our built-in historian is very, very flexible because you can modify our default settings to use Canary Labs, to use InfluxDB. You can use GE Historian, you can use Old SoftPy. So our historian, you can, from our application using our built-in SQL engine, or use our configuration tools to manage many historian packets at the same time. Again, the concept of unifying designer. You do everything from one place, even while working with many products at the same time. Similar concept here on the data sets. On the data sets, you can have connection with any kind of Oracle, Sybase, any kind of SQL style database or non-SQL if you need also. And in the concept of unified editor, if you need to create a query to a database, most of the time those queries will be defined by your IT departments. But we have, of course, a query editor inside the product. So this query editor is really in the context that you must understand what means unified designer. Unified designer means you can do all configuration of all modules in the same integrated environments. It means when I talk about Git integration to do source code management, when you apply security, which parts of the application can be accessible or not, when you apply versioning and online configuration, you must understand that the beauty of have a centralized configuration is not only you don't have to install 10 tools and make sure they are compatible between themselves. That's one advantage. But all the security, all the deployments, it's there also with having all the tools inside the system. That's the query editor. And on the reports, we have the same concepts. So you have here a report that you can create PDF data. We also have, of course, the form editor to create that report. Or if you are exchanging web data in JSON or XML, we also have the built-in editor for that. Okay. With all those things. And same for scripts. And to hold myself, not to go in training mode, give me some highlights of things that would be important about scripts or reports, data sets. Give me your 2 cents on those modules, please.
Okay, I don't want to go very deep in that, explaining the ML, machine learning scripts and MCP. So let's just create a simple task, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So tasks are code that you can run every second or every 5 minutes, or it's a code that you can run in reaction to another tag. Okay. And when you create a new one, go ahead, Eduardo.
Okay, so here we are creating a new script using the C# language, but we could use also VB.NET or also Python. And
the ML.NET namespaces.
yeah,
exactly.
we can also import directly.
Or import from the library. And when you do that, we automatically added for you here in the namespace declarations all you need to run .NET, ML.NET by yourself. By the way, this feature that I'm showing is a little advanced one because these are supposed to be deep dives. So when you're using .NET programming, the typical .NET namespaces, we declare for you, so you don't need to add those. Those are the one, I'd say 95% of the applications they use all times. And we added also the FrameworX namespaces, so you can access our objects directly. So when doing the codes, you can access the typical .NET namespaces, as you can see here, and you can access also the object model for the entire platform. So if you need to know the status of the server computer or on devices, you need to access tags. That's part of why this unified designer, the name unified, applies in many areas. It's unified by all the modules are here, but it's also unified because an extension of .NET Framework. You can access all the .NET Framework stack plus our extensions right away. And in this case, we added also the ability to do machine learning libraries access. Good call. And again, Isabella posted videos that we create some examples using MCP and creating from the library, as he pointed out. If you're doing for the first time, displays, queries, codes, we strongly recommend you to importing code from the library. Okay. And because it's advanced deep dive, let's put a parenthesis here and talk about how this configuration is being saved. Okay. If you look at this structure, it looks like a database. Okay. And in fact, is a database. If you go to solution settings, you see here the folder where your solution is being saved. That's this path here, and that's the name of the file. So let's go here to the file. And as I navigate here, when you need to do a Docker deployment, Eduardo, you put the entire product in a Docker, and then tell our users how many files they need to deploy for the configuration itself.
Okay, so for deploying Docker, you can pull the whole Docker directly from, we have a documentation for that. So you just do a pull, and all the whole product will come in the Docker. So you don't even need to install anything there. You just pull directly from Docker and it's ready to use. You upload your solution and you can run it directly. And
then we need to send us the solution itself.
The solution itself, you can basically connect remotely to the Docker and then go in server information. You see that you have an IP there. You would put your Docker IP instead of the local host and then connect. And when you connect to it, it will appear a button that you can upload your solution. So basically you have 3 clicks and you already have your solution there.
And the solution is only one file.
Exactly.
So the solution is in fact an encrypted database. So all those configuration tables, including the query, the scripts, they are being saved in that one protected file. So there is no way anyone can hack, can send a file to mix our files, or can, now some projects decide to do all the configuration in many files, but that's a terrible security problem. So in this way, the solution is fully protected and secure. Of course, you can expand your files and publish into Git, but the fact is a centralized protected file. It's much easier to deploy. It's much safer to deploy. That's the solution file, okay? That the configuration is great and the runtime you use.
And we also have a backup tool in FrameworX. I don't know if you want to go deep in that. Maybe
It's good to know. When you are doing all that code, you're compiling in backgrounds, okay? But when you are going to send for production, it's useful to decide if you're going to send with or without debug information. And it's probably a good idea also to create a backup file, as he pointed also, and do a validation of the application. So I'm doing here, and I can put a note. I call that my release candidates, candidate solution. Okay. So I'm asking the system to do a full verification of the entire application, looking the external dependence, making sure the type conversions in between integer, double, all the external classes you may reference to, do the full compiling and optimization of the application, and also create a backup. This step typically you do only in the final stages. It's equivalent if you are a Visual Studio programmer. From time to time, you do a rebuild all. That's the same concept here, because most of the time you're doing the incremental compiling, and it's a good procedure before sending that to production to do that verification, also to create a backup file. And if you are in an environment that requires FEJ certification, you can do one step further, that's to publish, that you create a read-only file. In this case, we did the full verification. You see here in the output window, and it's there with the backup. Good catch. By the way, Eduardo, since you talked about output window, let's talk about those find results also. One thing that we have that's amazing, any variable in the application, see how quick it is to find where that variable is being used. I barely have time to type, and I had already the results. And you can double click to go where the places where that variable is being used in the application. So this variable is being used here in the tag definition, and also I have an alarm with that tag. And I saw some integrators, Eduardo, saying that when they have that project in fields, it's very hard, sometimes almost impossible, to start change the tag names. Have you heard about that? Integrators?
Not for FrameworX.
Not for FrameworX.
Yeah.
Because how I can, if I need to change this tag, integer one, how I do that? Guide me here, please.
So you just rename it, and it will be renamed in the whole solution.
Just put a new name here?
Yeah.
But what if these tags be using script, displays, code, everything?
It automatically will be remain in the whole solution.
Oh yeah, how that's possible? What's the trick behind the scenes?
And also, well,
I think he went out, unfortunately. I'll bring him back.
Yeah, so one really cool about the thing about the software is that it's really consistent, the software. So if you want to delete a tag, you can use this tool to know where this tag is used. Because if you have the tagging created and you are using devices, for example, you cannot basically delete the tag in the tags because it's already been used. So this way you can know where it's used and delete there first if you need.
That's awesome. Can you share? I'm trying to share on my computer while Mark doesn't come back. I think his internet went out. Do you want to share it over there?
Yeah, I can do that.
Just for us to finish showing that.
Yeah, give me a second.
One sec. My computer seems to have.
Okay, let me share screen. Okay, do you see my screen?
Give it 1 sec. My computer's a little bit. 1 sec.
Should be working.
No, it is, but I need to put you create to again, and I've not been able to do that. 1 sec. 1 sec, 1 sec, 1 sec. My computer's completely blocked. My eye might be the issue here.
Yeah, so just for giving an overview, we
Yeah.
have seen the tags creation. So this is where every module access. We have seen how to import the tags, the device, the historian, where you can save the tag values. You can also we also saw the scripts where you can do your own code. So basically C#, VB.NET, Python.
And perfect. And your screen is showing now. We're
Okay. Okay, let's keep it going. We were talking about the find results, yeah. So this is a new solution here. Just create a tag, and here we can see where the tag is being used. And also, if you rename here and you are using in other places, it will be renamed automatically. So
yeah, and like Mark said, that's not a functionality we find in a lot of other products, so it's nice to see it. And I will note to everyone watching that we have not really gone over the displays and layouts and all the draw stuff, because that definitely deserves its own episode. So we'll be deep diving into that for sure, just not right now. And Mark's back.
Yeah, it seems they decided me to cut me a little.
Don't worry about it. Eduardo finished showing the renaming tags. And I was just telling the guys, everyone watching, that we'll definitely take a deep dive into everything related to displays and to draw environments. But that definitely deserves its own episode.
And I believe to wrap up, let's keep your computer, Eduardo. And I believe to finalize that concept of editor and the unified designer, if you go to script tasks, just show them that when we create the new codes there, you have C#, Python, VB.NET, all those 3 languages, we have the code editor inside our system. So don't need to go outside to any external tool to create that code. Okay. Goes against that concept of unified designer. Even Python code you can create internally. And let's talk about the displays now.
I definitely think that deserves its own episode, especially because we only have 10 minutes. But if you want to give it just a quick overview.
Let's go on the displays. What we import on the displays is, I think if you run our demo, Eduardo, would be a good one. You run either the solar panel or the production line, or even both. Okay. So let's explain some concepts about the display to them.
Let me just run the broker here.
Yeah. And run the bottom line also, by the way.
The bottom line one?
Yeah. Our product has many concepts that in some of the products you have 2, 3, 4 tools to accomplish that if you can. And again, we put all those concepts in a single environment. And what are those concepts? One concept is responsive dashboards versus process diagrams. So I think for that one, probably the bottom line would be a good one to show. Yeah.
Okay. Just a moment, it's going up.
So when you have a display, you can do a basic organization in two types of displays. One, you see the machine on the left side. When you resize, you want the machine to be only one drawing. And don't be shy, Eduardo. You can speed up that machine. Yeah, come on. Let's drink. Let's make bottles. Yeah, so in this case, you see the left side, as you resize that display, the entire image resizes proportionally because it's a process diagram. At the same time, the other, like the trend chart, the others, they're like a dashboard style. You can pick up the trend charts and click in the icon to make full screen, for instance, because a dashboard. So in our software, we combine the concept of change the display to mobile. I think it would be interesting how that application looks at a mobile device.
Nice.
So you see in our application, we don't need to have one Azure for web, one Azure for web dashboards, one Azure for process displays, for high performance terminals, high performance operator stations. All those types of displays, they are combined in the same environments, and both running natively or also in a Windows. If you click the Windows icon, it can be there. You have the color schema to change the color schema. Then the next one is the Windows.
The web?
Yeah, the web. And by the way, feel free to change the color schema also on the running Windows. Go back to the running display just to show them that our 12 colors on the runtime, they are available also. By default, when you create your applications, you are applying themes also behind the scenes. But what he did do, he also opened a web view of that page. And you see the web view, again, same performance, you talked about that yesterday. And what's important that all those variations of displays, Windows, web, high performance process diagrams, responsive dashboards, all of them, they are from one same environment. So give a quick preview of that environment today, Eduardo. It's not a training, just show where is that you can do all that from a centralized place.
Mm-hmm. So here we have our drawing designer.
Yeah. That's the one we'll definitely want to deep dive at some point, but just to give you guys a preview of everything you can build here.
Yeah, we definitely do a Tech Tuesday only for that. Create a new one from them just to give the idea. And let's create a very simple one. Let's create just a canvas one. Pick up the most simple template all. So in this one, you can, for instance, go to the right side that you have your tags and drag drop the tags to the display.
So let's do. Okay.
And when you drag drop, you can select what type of UI you're going to see on the display. So the drawing editor is really very, very advanced. At the same time, basic operations, just drag drop tags and showing display you can do very easily. But what's really important is that we can do dashboards, you can do vector drawing, we can use HTML5 displays right away. We can do SVG drawings right away. So on the last training, I think one thing Walker liked to see, Eduardo, was we created HTML5 codes in quotes and presented in the application. So show them the solar panel where we did that. Yeah. So this display here, this pop-up was created by the AI.
Yeah.
So besides our own very advanced drawing tools, you can very easily integrate HTML5 and SVG code that's being created outside the platform. Okay. And there is a lot about the drawing tool.
Yeah, no, we're almost at 1 hour here. So first thing is I did leave on chat the link to our new Discord. Our engineering team are there to answer your questions. Feel free, guys, to suggest new topics for Tech Tuesdays as well. We have a big list ourselves, but if there's anything that you guys want to see, let us know.
I think the
Do you have
key
any? Yeah, I was gonna.
Isabella.
last
I think the
thoughts?
key concept to live in the Unified Designer, it's an amazing, powerful platform with all tools you can manage. And on the drawing tool itself, it can do everything. Can do high performance Windows native, Windows Presentation Foundation, can do web tools, the same configuration running any places. You can paste HTML5 code, you can paste SVG, you have a huge library of functions. And we do also have some features that like the responsive server-side components that allows not only to be responsive, but also to dynamically adapt based on the user. So go back to that switch you did, Eduardo, between the mobile and no-mobile view of the bottom line. So they can pay attention on the menu. You see the menu there, when he switches to mobile, the top line is changing. So switch to another one again. So you see those icons in the top. It's a new display because our applications are not only responsive, but the display that we send, the information we send to the user is also based on the user profile when it's running. So it's a very unique feature that we have also. We'll see if we have questions, but let's pick up those 2 minutes, Eduardo, and let's go back to designer to see what we may have forgot to mention.
Maybe the security. I think we didn't talk about.
Yeah, the security. The security is important to mention that we can connect with external security systems like Active Directory or LDAP, but you can define the full security of the runtime and also the engineering in our platform. And that security model is able to be certified by FJ and very strict security for critical assets and critical infrastructure. Our security model has been many times approved in that scenarios. And we also have the track changes there that we didn't even go there. The track changes is also a built-in feature that everything that we're doing in the application, we automatically create a version number. We save the date it was modified, the object that was modified. So the reason to go to Git integration, we talk about that later also in more detail, is you're able to compare lines of code. You have a script and want to show which lines of the code were changed, then we do the integration with Git. But at the object level, to know which tags, which scripts, which displays, which symbols, they were modified, whom, by way, and do the version on that, we have the built-in change management that's part of the application that shows all the objects on the cross-reference where they're being used and go down on the cross-reference. Eduardo, hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Open the cross
Cross-reference.
reference, please, on the left side. Yeah, and you show all the objects that are being used, and also if you go to unused objects, it also show eventually things that are creating application but not using yet. So it's a very comprehensive built-in change management.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate both of you guys for being here, for doing this. If you guys have to leave, go for everyone watching. But Dan has some questions around MCP, which was our topic for
Sure,
last.
let's go for the questions.
Yeah, can you see the chat? But I'll read them to you. Which is, how does framework stat level security map to the capabilities exposed by the MCP tools? Can we restrict an MCP tool to only read a specific MES tags, for example, just OEE data, while preventing it from writing to critical control tags like PLC set points? Let's start from there.
Okay, I will reply the question in 3 steps. The first one are the custom MCP tools, and then the built-in MCP tools that we have.
Okay.
On the custom MCP tools, it's very easy to protect because you are the one exposing what you want to expose. So Eduardo, you go to scripts, and probably would be easier to create a new one or just open one of the solutions have there, Eduardo, as you prefer.
Yeah.
You are creating a new one?
Yeah, I'm creating a new one.
Yeah. So essentially, when you expose an MCP tool, yeah, just make that code bigger because
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. When you create an MCP tool, you are creating a custom class in your script. And what kind of validation will you do for that code to be accessible? Of course, they need to have a username and password to connect with the application. But beyond that, these methods, you can add any additional parameters for security, or you can define which tags it will access, because you are in the full control. All the MCP tools that you'll be calling externally, they have to go to your own methods that acts as a security gateway to which parts of the application should be accessible or not.
Awesome.
That's for the custom methods. For the built-in methods, we also have a tool you can enable to allow read and write tags. And for those tags, if you go to the tag definition, Eduardo, show them the visibility fields. So the visibility fields is defined not only for MCP, but for OPC-UA and external connection. Public means you can read and write. Protected means you can only read, not write. And private means external tools cannot access the data at all. Additionally, if you enable the column edit security and runtime security, we also have, for more advanced applications, the read security and the write security at the tag level. So you can define which security groups are able to access specific tags. And which user are you connected is the user you do when you establish a connection. We'll not go too much on the detail on the securities, but by default, the guest user means anonymous login. But you can protect your application that to connect the remote tools, you need to have one specific user. And that user that are used to the connection, you can go to the tag restriction, what they use. Okay. So many ways to secure, depends how you want to lay out your application.
Perfect.
My recommendation, to wrap up, my recommendation, instead of allowing the user to read and write any tag, that we have that MCP tool for that, keep, as we did on the demo last week, keep that tool disabled.
Okay.
And create the methods to start exposing MCP technology to our users. So start simple. Oh, that's a good idea for a tagline. Help me here. Aim high, start simple, scale without limits.
There you go. And actually, Dan has a few more questions around that, which is the MCP server agent authenticated using a dedicated service account within FrameworX?
It's depends on the configuration you do. By default, to be the guest, or on the security system, you can enable to be another user account in the configuration. And we'll, as a follow-up, send to him. Eduardo, you review first to find the proper links and documentation, Eduardo, and then we publish that specific, so he don't have to search the documentation, how to set up the user.
Yeah, I think I can answer. We'll email you, Dan, with all of this, just to kind of go through all of them. I don't know if you can see his questions. It's on comments here.
I cannot really. Let's see. I can. Hold on.
I'll read it to you as well.
Or you can copy and paste some things from Isabella. So I.
And I can actually show this one, which is how are the permissions for the service account configured to strictly adhere the principle of least privilege for the MES functions it can invoke?
Well, right now we took a little liberty that not be strictly adherence with that by default, we are allowing the guest user.
Okay.
So some people will say that you are doing a non-conformity with the security. Yes, it's true. But we're having so much support on that. So the only thing you need to be aware in our product in general, not about specifically MES functions, but in general, it's our guest user by default is enabled, and by default the guest user has full privileges. So that's a non-compliance item that we did to simplify the life of new users. So let's show that because it's an important question. If you don't want that, okay, you go to security, okay, and under permissions, under users, you go to guest user, and you see the permissions the guest user has by default on permissions. He has the guest permissions. And if you go to the permissions to see what are the guest permissions, you see that by default, guest permissions is fully unrestricted, both on the configuration and both on the runtime. And that's not specific to MCP or MES, by the way. That's how we do by default in our applications, because many users, it was a little frustrating. They create their first application, not fully aware about the security, and they could not run even a simple demo. So we took that liberty to go a little outside that, to have a guest user that has full privileges. Of course, what you can do and what we'll do in our application is to add that field. So click there, Eduardo. On the
yes.
as administrator to be
I can do that.
So log in as administrator. So
We are already over at our time.
The administrator by default does not have a password, so he remove the permissions from the guest user, and all the permissions on the software. The user, it's like Active Directory. The user may belong to many groups, not only one. So when the user logins, either by Active Directory or by the definition of products, we combine the many groups his user belongs, and to define what to be the security level specific to that user based on that group configuration.
Awesome. one more. First, I'd like to thank them because he just said thank you for the amazing job and leading the way as true pioneers, which I thought was sweet.
Thank you for that.
So let's answer a few more for him, which is, can you see when leverage FrameworX AD integration, how can we link specific security groups to different MCP agents? So a particular AI assistant can only access data relevance to the domain. And he put in even an example here, which is maintenance AI can only see MMS and asset health.
I will explain a little generically, okay? But of course, I'll be, Eduardo can work with you offline also to go on the details. But the general explanation is you don't need to create only one tool. When you have an application running, if Eduardo can share again the codes where you define the MCP tool. So each method you create, the external agent will see as one tool. So when you define an endpoint in clouds, the endpoint will see many tools. Each tool is one method here. And the system is very open. There is no specification on MCP on what should be the parameters for those methods. But based on your recommendation, what I would say, you should create one tool for maintenance, another tool for operations. You should create many tools, 3, 4, 5 tools. And in those parameters for those tools, you can add an additional security validation you may want in addition to the connection. You can even put a username or passwords, or you can put another security credential. So to solve that would be to create many tools, not only one. And by the way, then can be on the same class, or there can be different classes also. Your product doesn't matter. Does not to be one class. You can create another class with another tool if you want to have a better organization. And then on the parameters on those tools, you can apply the additional filtering or securities. And make sure to interact with Eduardo offline. So I would love to start putting out real use cases in production for that new feature.
And because he still has a couple more questions. Do you have time
but
to
we
answer?
can follow up because a little over time.
Yeah.
And
Dan, let me do it like this.
I am be much more than 1 hour.
Yeah. So what I will do, Dan, is I am getting all of your questions here, and I'll email you.
We will follow up with you then in our Discord website. Okay. Later today, either Eduardo or someone. By the way, it's a good way to end this online video, Isabella, doing some promotion that we have also Discord websites.
I already put it on chat, and then I screenshotted all of your questions, make sure we're not missing any. We'll follow up with you there, and by email as well. We'll continue that conversation because we're already a lot over time. But I appreciate so much both Mark and Eduardo for today. Thank you, everyone who is still here. Like Mark said, we have our Discord. We'll continue the conversation there, and we can talk more about stuff. Any last thoughts? Anything you guys want to highlight, or just say thank you for today?
Just thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you guys on Discord.
Take care. Bye.